Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Set the Pipe. I am Sully. CK's here. Bears down there. Today, we have a guy with a loaded resume, and we're excited to have him on. Tyler Hildebrand, head coach, St. Mary's. Welcome to Set the Pipe.
Thanks, Sully. Thanks, CK, Bear. It's a pleasure to be on. As I was just saying, I've listened to a decent amount of them so far, and it's just been great to hear all the stories. I know that's why you guys are saying you're doing it, and to relive some of them and remember some of them. And so I'm excited to share some of mine, and also keep listening as you guys keep rolling.
Right
Awesome.
on. Well, let me.
Yeah, so stoked to have you. So thanks for coming on as always. Yeah. Appreciate your time. I know it's valuable these days, especially with spring volleyball happening and the recruiting and always going on, and being a father and all those other things. So thanks, appreciate it.
I can go on probably about 5 or 10 minutes about your background, Tyler. So I'm just going to touch on it. Just a couple things. Went to Long Beach State. What's that? The Princeton? Is that what you calling that, Coley?
Yeah,
Harvard of the West.
It's Northridge. Northridge is the Harvard of the West. You guys are Princeton, Yale. It's kind of you're trying to figure it out.
Right. So he was a 4-year setter actually at Long Beach State and was a 2003 ABCA Newcomer of the Year as a freshman. I went to the championship match actually in 2004, was named the NCAA All-Tournament team. And then as of 2024, he was Long Beach State's all-time career leader in assists and was a 3-time first-team ABC All-American.
Welcome, brother. Me and you on this pod have the same
you guys are in
awesome.
the 3-time club. Anyway, so 6 years on the national team, played a couple years on the AVP, then all of a sudden he got the coaching bug. Coached a couple of recognizable names on the AVP tour. Jake Gibb, Casey Patterson, who we just had on here. So he had some very nice things to say about you. Phil Dahlhauser, Nick Lucina, Triborn as well. On the women's side, April Ross, Jennifer Kessie, both USC All-Americans, Ross and Carrie Walsh-Jennings as well, and Emily Day and Summer Ross. In 2022, he coached the pair of Ross and Alex Kleinman to gold medals at the Tokyo Games. He then, while he was at Long Beach State on the men's side with Al Knipe, who we've had on here, after the men's side, he got to Nebraska, and he was there for 3 years. 3 years, is that right?
On the women's side, sorry.
Yeah, on the women's side for Nebraska.
No, 3.5 seasons. Yeah,
3.5 seasons
because COVID didn't really count for him.
Yeah, for sure. Then came back to his alma mater on the women's side at Long Beach State. After a stint at Long Beach State, went to USC to be the associate head coach at USC. And then he got the job this year at St. Mary's College. Again, Tyler Hildebrand, welcome to Set the Pipe, brother.
Thanks. Again, happy to be here.
Coaching now at St. Mary's, about to start your first season next fall. How's it going for you? What did you inherit, and what's the vision you're putting together right now for St. Mary's going into the next year for the WCC?
Yeah, first of all, Rob Browning was here for I think a little over 20 years. My wife's family and Rob go way back. I think Rob was doing some stuff with Carl McGowan back in the day when you couldn't just pull something up on Volumetrics or YouTube to study the game. You had to actually physically go there. I think Marv used to do that. And so Rob was there, and I think was renting out a room from Kristen's family or something. But they've known each other forever, and I've known Rob since the early 2000s when I was on the national team. He was a volunteer there. One of the best people in our sport, and great guy, great coach. But we haven't been kind of competing as the Power Fours have been pulling away. Our Power Fives, and now even the Power Fours getting farther away. So inherited, I think, we got 9th place in the WCC last year. So no one here really wants that. I'm sure, including the previous staff and players and our admin. So, but when I got the call from the AD that brought me to Long Beach, who was there for a long time, did a lot of things for Alan's program, certainly did a lot of things for me the couple years I was there. Andy Fee. Yeah. He's one of the best ever. And so he left like 5 months after he brought me. And one of his close friends who he worked with at San Diego is our AD here, Mike Matoso. Total stud. Gets it. If you don't have football, You need an AD and a department that gets it. Like,
Get it? Yep.
we're going to figure out every way we can to support you. Yes, this costs money and this costs money, but these really matter. So we'll give you those, and then you got to help other areas. So they want to make a big commitment with the rule changes coming. I think that's why they made the move. And to be honest, when my AD called me, I was like, I'm not interested in. I mean, I don't, I want to go Power 4 or whatever. Like, I'm moved around enough. And he goes, well, would you take a call and at least give him some names? I was like, yeah, of course I'll do that. So that was my AD, Andy Fee, saying this guy's really great. Just could you help him with some names? I'm like, sure. So I tell my wife, and you guys, I don't know if you know my wife, Salute, but Baron CK
Yeah,
know
I
my
know
wife.
Kristen. Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. And so
She was a decent volleyball player.
Yeah, she was all right.
She has some accolades.
me and Brian Cook, my associate head coach, we just have to deal with our wives being way better than us.
Yeah, it happens.
A lot of things, but especially volleyball. But yeah, to wrap the story up, it was we've moved like 5 or 6 times now, and every time it's I think it's hard on the person, whether it was we were moving for her job, it'd be hard on me, but we're always moving for my job, so it takes a little while to process. And so anyway, when I just mentioned it to her, she was like, "Hey, I'm in. I want to go back to Northern California." I'm like, I haven't even talked to the AD yet, So, and he did his homework because he led off with, "Hey Tyler, how's it going?" I thought I was going to give him names. I talked to him a few days later. He goes, "Yeah, blah blah blah. Hey, it comes with a full country club membership right here at the golf course." So he knew what to lead off with.
Awesome.
But I actually didn't even know exactly where St. Mary's was. I just knew Mike Dodd, and Dallas and Dominique played here. So I thought it was kind of more central-ish California. I didn't know it was up here in this unbelievably gorgeous, Moraga, which is one of the most beautiful places I've been. And yeah, he just kind of said, we're going to make some changes and we're going to back this thing up and we're going to try to be like our men's basketball team and compete with the big boys, and we're going to put our money where our mouth is. And so far they've gone above and beyond.
That's great to hear. When we were talking to Alan, he was talking about growth of the sport and how do we grow it. And it starts with administrations. It starts with the NCAA. It starts, all the way there for them to give you the support for you to do what you do, which we're going to talk about in a minute with some stories about volleyball, about competing, about winning, about culture, about all of those things. But you cannot do that without funding, without support. And so to hear that you're getting that is amazing. I'm also hopeful. I don't know if you even have any insight on this or you just hear it, but I do have a feeling I think St. Mary's may get invited to the Pac-12, the new Pac-12. And if that happens, now you're coaching in a Power 4.5, if we'll call it a half, with back to the Power 5. But I don't, that's a reality. It is, it isn't. You're a coach and you're just going to, obviously coach where you're at. But I think it would be a cool ad for everyone, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't have any inside information.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no.
But I know Gonzaga is already in.
Yep.
And I know they're looking for one more football team, I believe. I think they're at 7. You need 8.
You do need 8 to have a conference, and they need to have it within 6 months, and they'll get that. And they're just waiting on their media deal. And once they get the media deal done, which should be done in the next 30 days, the Pac-12 will know what the shares are. So now you can actually, you already have the teams that have committed, which are 8 / only 7 football teams, Gonzaga being the 8th in that thing. Then you know what you can then have, and then you can go out and maybe solicit a St. Mary's or go solicit, a UNLV, or they're trying to get a Memphis or things like that. But it doesn't matter. Just coaching, obviously the WCC is an awesome conference. How was it transitioning from Long Beach to USC, and then all of a sudden within probably, like you said, you weren't expecting it, to all of a sudden being a head coach again at a mid-major, if you want to call it so, going from Long Beach State, low major, going to, in the women's game, these days, going to USC, high major, playing in the Big Ten, to back to like a mid-major WCC, possibly, again, Pac-12 if that was to happen. But how's that been for a transition for you? And how do you keep those kids in the recruiting aspect trying to get to that next level?
Yeah, there's kind of a lot to unpack there, but
yeah, I asked you a lot of questions.
I think I have about the least amount of care of what the volleyball world thinks of me or my decisions. I care a lot about what Team Fletch and Team Paul Mitchell cares about me. I care a lot about
Oh
what,
God,
my friends
knew
care
it.
about me.
Team Paul Mitchell.
I knew it.
I
I
was
figured that.
thinking about it, but I had to.
Yeah.
I
was
figured
thinking
that's how
about
you led to all your jobs that you've gotten so far. Was your
Love
first thing was you're a Team Paul Mitchell alum, and I just think that opened the doors for you. But I mean, we were talking about that before you got on. That's just my opinion.
Well, there's some. I remember both times. So I was in Canada, Coley. You called me. Do you remember? I was on a national team trip at a
I
Pan
do
Am
remember.
something, and that was back. Man, it must have been 2007 or something,
Yeah,
right?
somewhere in there.
And back then, I mean, I don't know if I had an iPhone yet, and it was like $4 a minute, and I was broke to answer a call, and I'm like, why is Coley calling me? I've been on Team Magnum. I love Magnum, sort of, not really, but I love a lot of guys on that team. Siggy's great, like, but
Yeah.
I always wanted to be on Fletch, and I never got the call, and I'm like, I got to answer this. And without even discussing how much it costs, you remember CK, like, hey, you want to play on Team Fletch this summer? I'm like, yep. You're like, all right, cool. We'll see you later. I mean, it was that summarized. I was like a minute, and I'm like, dude, I was going to say yes. You had me at hello, but I'm glad we got off the call quick because I didn't want to spend too much money.
Yeah, those days, a lot of us were poor. So again, I asked you those questions since I asked 100. We're going to come back to that. So the funny story is, you're in high school, I think, playing in Arizona, and we're playing at nationals, and we played you guys, and you
in the winners final,
in the winners final, and we were better than you at that time, but you personally blew all of us, and you know who we are and we know who you are now. But back then we were all very competitive, and we were all playing at a really high level. The most of our Paul Mitchell team, guys from all over. And we just had such an admiration for you, the way you competed, and the way you went about it. I mean, and it was awesome. It was awesome. You were super young, and then what was the next year you played again? Is that when you had committed to Al, or was it already that year that you were being recruited? You weren't being recruited yet, right?
No, I was. So I basically started playing volleyball my junior year, essentially, like in the spring. And I played like middle, but by the end of it, I was, I don't know, playing, like outside hitter on like the varsity, but we sucked. That's high school, and my knees were so bad in basketball. So I kind of just was like, I'll try this out. That summer, like one of the JOs was in Phoenix. So just 2 months later, JOs was in Phoenix. I'm from Mesa, and they only had 35 teams because someone dropped out or something. So we got this club team that's a local team got put into open like without having to qualify because they needed 36.
Right.
So we put together just this like random I don't know, ragtag team, and I sat and played opposite. We did a 6-2. So that was my first club tournament ever, was going into my senior year. But in boys volleyball, the signing date's in November. Well, I mean in girls too, but the first boys tournament to get seen, other than like SCVA, but in Arizona you don't have any of those, was the December Classic, and then the qualifier in January. So I didn't even get seen by a single school ever, really, because the one at JOs, I mean, I didn't even know what I was doing,
Yeah.
was after the signing date. So fast forward to March, I was almost a Matador, dude. I think I've told you that, CK.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was almost a Matador. Campbell brought me in, offered me actually a pretty decent scholarship, and it was like middle of March, late March. And I thought I almost committed on the visit because no one else wanted me. Kenny Preston told me that they already have the two best setters in my class. So
Cool.
I never thought about that when
When you beat his ass in Woodson.
Went 9-0 against Santa Barbara. I didn't lose them once, but
yeah,
He said the same thing about Matty-O, Tyler. If you don't know that, he told Matty-O he'd never be a college setter.
no way.
Yeah.
I mean,
so.
KP is like near and dear to my
Oh,
heart.
and I love
course,
it.
yeah.
Kenny. Yeah.
It's just a funny story. And then later, I think like, I don't know, maybe 2009, 2 or 3 years after I was retired from or done playing college, I was playing national team stuff, surgeries. Kenny Preston was the head of delegation on like a Pan Am Games, and he'd just be like, "Oh shit, man, I remember that call." So he was great. He was a great guy. And
So
anyway,
I want to go back because I want to hear this.
but-
So Kenny and everyone's recruiting you, but not so much.
yeah, but not really. Al Skate, like no, I was sending letters, sending tape. Pat Powers was at SC at the time. He wanted me to be an outside hitter. I'm like, I think I'm a setter. I don't know. I've been playing volleyball for a year. And anyway, and so I, on the trip to Northridge, you could in-person scout back then. And so Greg Vernovich, Andy Reid, and Alan Knipe were at the match that Northridge was playing Stanford on my visit. And I might have had just a few refreshments before I got into the game. And I'm
It's
coming.
legal at Northridge. Just it's fine.
Yeah,
You're fine.
Yeah, it's fine. And I was, I was walking out the door after I think that Stanford smashed them or something. And
I wasn't there.
I'm walking out with Ty Trambly. And a couple of Northridge guys were walking out, and I see Alan and Alan right there, and I was like, "Have a good trip." And I was like, "Oh, hey." Walked right by them. Next day they called me, and I went out the next weekend to Long Beach for a junior national tryout. And those two setters, by the way, that went to Santa Barbara, they were 1 and 2 in my class, so they got picked and I didn't. They didn't spend any time with us team either, but doesn't matter. Point is that we I was like on the third court, and Greg Vernovich kept walking up to me. He's like, "Hey, where are you going again?" I'm like, "Nowhere, man." "Wait, where are you committed again?" I'm like, he asked me like 5 times. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere yet. I'd like to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And the next weekend came out and committed on my visit without telling my parents. I committed to Alan at the Marriott right there by the airport. Barry, you know where that is? Solid.
I do know where that is.
Yes,
Yeah.
Bear has a
Time in
great,
that hotel, by
say,
the way.
Bear has a great Marriott driving story. You might want to tell later today. But
I almost got kicked out of that hotel, but that's a whole
Subscription
other.
only.
Yeah.
Are the elevators good to go?
Well, this had to do with the balcony,
Someone
not
take-
the elevators. But
I don't know how much, you gotta kind of walk the.
we can
That's
edit.
why
We can edit.
We got to get a
Okay.
I used to
subscription
work for
going
the
on
Marriott,
here.
so yeah, there are
Yeah.
Stories.
So you commit on the visit and you don't tell your parents.
Yeah, and Alan offered me no money. It was a walk-on.
Oh,
And Bo Peters was already committed, signed early. He's my year. He played for Derek Lucero, and he was the best setter in the class, better than Bo and the other two guys won Santa Barbara. He won 3 JOs in a row, 16, 17s, 18s, number 1 setter. He got like a 90% scholarship, which, as you guys know, it's becoming
Insane.
a little more common with like a Moni or a Nikolov or a Heno because they're going big with international. But back then it was like unheard of. And I was just a walk-on, and there's 5 setters at the time. I was so stoked. I'm like, dude, I'm in. I was like, all right, cool. I tell my parents, and they're like, how much is that a state to? I mean, I didn't even ask them. They had to take out a big shout out to my parents. I mean, we did okay, but we weren't a wealthy family. But my parents did fine. They could take care of whatever we needed. But that's $42,000 or something, just like that. Without I didn't even talk to them
At Long Beach State.
Yeah. And so,
Princeton.
So I told them I committed, and they said, okay, what did he offer you? Same as Northridge? I was like, I don't think he offered me anything. They're like, you don't know? I was like, I don't know. I think by the time April came around, I got books or something, which was like $800.
Right.
And then you played in May, and then like that next month was nationals when I first played against you.
1 month later was national. So that marks about 12 months of total setting and about. I don't know.
Al didn't give you money after that, if he didn't give you money after that trip, then I mean, I don't know what he was doing because you were unbelievable.
I didn't get money until my junior year.
Yeah. Wow.
So but I mean, that was how it was. I mean, there wasn't.
Yeah.
But Alan was awesome. He said it to me, and this has helped me in my coaching career too, because we all have walk-ons, and we're in the Marriott. He's telling me, hey, you're gonna have, you're come here, and these are gonna be your best friends for life. Al's right about a lot of things. Usually when he and I argue during a game coaching together, I'm always right. He's always wrong. But other than that, he's right about a lot of things. Just kidding. He's usually right. He's usually right there too. But he was like, hey, he's gonna be your best friends. They were. But he said, listen, if you earn your way into money, like if you earn it, even though you're not going to go anywhere, probably if you end up starting for us or beating people out, because we think you have potential to do that, even though Bo's coming in, all that. He goes, I will help your parents. I will find a way to give you money. And we had a guy transfer, a Brazilian guy my junior year, and Alan gave me a full scholarship that year.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't going I wasn't going anywhere. I was in state by that time, as you guys
Right.
know. Maybe you could do that back then.
Yeah.
And so anyway, long story of how that all happened, but that's how I went into that nationals. I wasn't really nervous. I was just like, oh, dude, I just committed to that guy like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I hope I don't see him at the bars.
Yeah.
And I wasn't quite of age, but we used to use fake IDs, and I got in, and
I remember Alan saying, "Hey, he's coming to Long Beach."
That's
before
what
we
it-
played.
yeah.
And we're like, "What?"
Yeah. And
You
Yeah.
were incredible.
You were.
the one night that I did run into you guys, Paul Mitchell, because that was before we were getting the Coley Kyman, like, here's where we're going, here's where we're going. Remember you used to do that, Coley?
Yep.
Yeah.
He'd send out the whole itinerary for the whole turn, well, the cool teams, and I used to get them. I mean, we used to do them when I was with you, right? But before that, I used to get them on my team, but yeah, so I was like hoping I never saw Alan out. I was like, dude, this is not gonna be good. Bear, you and Al were sitting in a booth at a bar. Like, I don't know if you remember this. And I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to hide, trying not to leave. I'm like, don't see me. And then Al just gets up, walks straight over. I'm like, oh, here it is, dude. Here it is. Like, this isn't good. He's going to take that $800 he gave me, And he goes, Tyler, it's all right. It's all good. Relax.
Yeah.
But me and Tim, my friend Tim, are gonna leave. It's gonna be all good. And then he left, and I was, those
It
are the
was all
days
good.
that stuff was okay because we were responsible, and for the most part
No
For the
social
most
media.
part.
Those nationals were good times.
they were.
Hey, so I talked a little bit earlier about a nationals with you, and I guess I got the wrong city, the story wrong, and you corrected it. Can you go into that a little bit?
Well,
Can you clarify?
Yeah, I'll clarify. So I played 5 years before Paul Mitchell, right? One in high school, and then the 4 in college. We played 2-ball express. Remember those guys with
Yep.
Walker? And by the way,
Mhm.
quick caveat.
You guys were good, by the way.
We always are like between third and fifth or whatever.
Yep.
But we got 2 bronzes. But like that time I played against you guys as a senior, the only reason I went was because my club coach Kevin Jones played on that team. And Steve Walker, who played at Long Beach, 49er,
Mhm.
by the way,
Yep.
shout out to Walk,
Yeah.
one
I
of
love
my
Walker.
favorites.
Arizona
Oh,
volleyball coach. Yep.
Yeah,
Beach.
beach volleyball coach.
Yep.
One of my setting mentors. He taught me a lot about being a setter and a competitor. But I never met him. I never met anyone on the team. And I'm a high school senior. And my club coach, like a week before, goes to my parents and goes, "Hey, can I take Tyler to this tournament?" They're like, "What is it?" And they had no idea what it was. By the way,
I'm glad they didn't.
They would never let you go if they did.
And I'm like, dude, like I can't play against, I think the Miso team was there. I mean, I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't play against these guys. And he's like, you're not going to play, dude. You're just in case Walker like goes down or he needs to rest, I was like, sweet. So Walker comes down with food poisoning the first day. So I got to play the whole first day. Then the next day he tries to play and like either breaks his finger or like something happened to his hand. And I tried to play the rest of the tournament. So I got to
Wow.
play the whole time because Walker couldn't play. But yeah, so I played 5 years in the 4 years of college, and I think I probably would have played with you guys, like with Sealy. Like I probably would have been one of the setters with Sealy. I think it's during college, but I couldn't because Alan was on the team.
Yeah.
If you guys remember that.
Yeah, no, for
And
sure.
so-
We would love to have you. And we always talked about it every year with you. Like as soon as you're done here, you got to come over. And obviously you fit right in so many things.
So that was the first year, was my senior year, which was New Orleans.
So tell the
Okay,
story.
it was-
With Paul
Yep.
Mitchell.
Yeah.
So
For some reason, I thought it
New
was
Orleans-
Wisconsin, but yeah, okay.
It was right
It was
after the floods.
It was New Orleans. Yep. It was
Yes.
right after the flood. So, whatever the street, whatever that street was called, the main
Bourbon Street?
drag.
Bourbon Street.
Was just, remember, it smelled like sewer everywhere
Yeah.
because of the floods. Anyway, so
Katrina.
me and Ty Tremblay were playing on the AVP at the time. And we thought we were going to be a day late, but we got bounced by Ingenio it's the only time out of 8 tournaments. So a little bit of Paul Mitchell kind of magic serendipity there. We had to qualify that year. We were like ranked 90th in the qualifier. So we had to qualify every tournament. We played 8 tournaments. The only time we didn't qualify was Huntington, and that was national. So we actually made it on a red eye. We got in at 4:35 in the morning. And you guys stuck us with all 5 rookies in the same hotel room. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
Nils, Tar, Spittle,
Yep.
me, and Tremblay. Well,
Yeah.
Tremblay wasn't a rookie. He played 1 year before, but the
In
4 of
Denver
us
when he was
rookies,
throwing up, but that, yeah.
Denver, and he was thrown up. So the 5 of us are stuck in this room. I thought we were getting a hotel room, me and Tremblay, and they give us the keys at 4 whatever. And,
It was
and they're
expensive,
like,
dude. A lot of people in NOLA had to
Yeah,
keep it
We had
tight.
no
You
money
had to keep it
back then.
tight.
yeah.
None
I
of
Always
gotta
in
talk to
charge.
I gotta talk to Jules and Clean about that. But anyway, so we came in and we thought it was gonna be we're gonna go sleep. We thought it was gonna be our own hotel room. We come in and there was more than 3 people in that hotel room. I'll just say it like that. But there was
People.
there
Yeah.
was people in the hotel room, and we're like, what is going, dude, they give us we go downstairs because they were sleeping. They go downstairs. Nope, that's your hotel room. Go back up. So we decided to go down to because we had an afternoon pool, remember?
Yeah.
So we decided to go to Bourbon
Urban
Street
Street. Yeah.
Yeah.
and start drinking Hurricanes because we're like, we got like 12 hours, so we got to play or something, I was like, this is our first Paul Mitchell, and
The win in Rome.
so we did that. And I don't know if you guys remember, but we go to warm up. None of us were in very good shape. And I set Tar's not even like warming up. He's on the bench. And Alan goes over and tells him to get up and hit a ball. And I was struggling a little bit. And Sully, I'd never met Eric Sullivan, never played with him. One of my all-time favorite players to play with all time. Tosses me a ball, and I'm seeing 2 of them. And I set him the first ball in warm-up straight over the net. He goes to Alan, you guys, and starts going, who the F are these guys? Who brought these guys? This is like the first set of warm-ups. Tar gets up off the bench. I set him a ball. He like trips and like falls into the net and just walked and sat down. So I was the only one of all the rookies that played that game. And I think you and Alan played middle, Coley.
Yeah, we did.
That game. Yeah, remember? And,
The rule we had, and I think that group, they all bounced back tremendously, was like the thing I say this to parents now with my kids when they travel, like, listen, if your kids want to stay out till 3 a.m, great. They better be able to bring it at 8 a.m. And I mean, bring it like you're playing at the highest level. If you can play, then play. And if you can't, then don't go out. It's one or the other. It's one or the other. And that's what it was with Paul Mitchell. You going to stay out till 8? Don't even sleep for 3 days? Awesome. Just be ready to side out when we need you. That's the bottom line. And everyone was, for the most part, there.
I mean, that was Fletch, Long Beach, and so my whole career is that way. It wasn't something I think that I brought. Like, it's just your teammates wouldn't allow you. I mean, it was, and if you were one of those people that couldn't handle their stuff, either it doesn't have to be about just going, having socializing. It could be about anything. Oh, you got a cold, or it's like you just your teammates wouldn't accept it, right? It was like, this is what makes us different. And I think you guys probably had that at Northridge too with your era, CK, and Sully, Bear, and I obviously had at Long Beach, and so. But back to the details at the end there. So Schroeder, after that game, we lost like 3-0, I think.
Yeah.
Which was what was going to put us in the losers,
Mm-hmm.
I think, because of either I don't remember if it was pool or if it just automatically put us. Oh, it was double lim, right? It just put us right in the losers.
It was on the last
this
day,
got it.
right.
This got us into the playoffs. It was or whatever it was. But yeah, I think.
No, but after we lost the very first match of the tournament, when none of the rookies except me could
it crushed us in the pool. Like,
that's what it was in the pool. Yeah.
We barely made it out.
Yeah.
Barely made it out. And dude, Schroeder gave one of the all-time speeches. Like, I think you too a little bit, Bear, but Schroeder he's like, look, man, it's a privilege to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And just what you just said, Corey, like, it's a privilege to be here. And like, we owe it to Jules, Kalina, Paul Mitchell. We owe it to everyone that's won and played on this team before us. And listen, not everybody gets, every year, not every year, but most years, 1 to 2 people get clipped from a Paul Mitchell or a Fletch or a Soho, whatever. It's like, you got to have the right mentality, the right vibe, the right team guy, but you also got to bring it. If you're just coming out of college, you're supposed to bring it and getting 3-0 smash. So he gave us this great speech. we didn't change our behavior at all. I kind of laid into those guys, and I was like, dude, I got broken legs. Like, I can't be the only one. Like, let's go. And those guys are all super tough. I mean,
Yeah,
they just,
yeah, no doubt.
they were all super tough. So, it's just a little thing. It's like, guys, like, we gotta, they've invited us to this team. We gotta win it, right? And we gotta win every part of nationals, which we know what that means. But we gotta win the volleyball too.
Sure.
And so,
Because the other part matters a lot, but only
Yeah.
if you win the volleyball part.
Yeah.
that's it. That's it. And I had been on some teams that were like that, and some of those guys maybe, but it was great. And so we didn't change much, flipped to morning pools, and I think we started playing pretty, better or whatever. I think we got Keenan and like Furby and those guys and Scotty Lane. They all came after AVPs because they didn't get bounced in the quarterfinal like we did, or in the qualifier. But so then Monday night is the typical Paul Mitchell dinner. It's just wonderful dinner, like very traditional of our team, right? And Paul Mitchell and Jules and Colleen do a great job. So we have this dinner, and Prescio, maybe you too, but Prescio for sure sits us down and goes, I wish I could do a Prescio impression, but I'm not even going to try it. But he's like, hey, listen, this is how it goes, right? You guys have done a great job. You completely scared the crap out of us in the first match, but you guys got it. You guys are rolling. But listen, you guys have been playing hard, a lot of matches going hard. Like, the Monday night is when the old guys could go do their thing, and you guys kind of tuck it in a little bit early. And we were in the losers, so we had the losers semi, losers final, and
double final if we won that final.
and double final, right? So we had,
And tuck it
at
in early
least-
is like 2. That's where we're tuck it in
Before
early. Is
flight.
like 2 o'clock in the morning. Go get some rest because we play at 10. Like that's tucking in early for Paul Mitchell. I mean, most of the guys are rolling in at 4 or 5. We've had some good times on that trip. I'll tell you that.
Well, especially that year because it was New Orleans, so the bars didn't close at 2, which was
the place
brutal.
is crazy.
So we So Precious says that, and I'd already been kind of riding those other guys a little bit, like, guys, dude, like, this is serious. Like, this is our first, I was kind of pushing them a litto bit of like, we got to show up. So then as we're walking back to our hotel room, the one that we shared, all 5 of us, as we're walking back to our hotel room, everyone's like, yeah, man, dude, they're right. And I went, you know what, dude? F that. let's go, right? We're not talking, but let's steer clear of the older guys so they think we went to bed early. So I don't know if you guys remember this, Bear and Coley, but so I don't know what time it is, and we definitely don't need to share it, but it's pretty late.
It wasn't tucked in early.
And we did not tuck in early, and thus far, a lot of teams out of the tournament, a lot of our friends are like, dude, you guys should probably call it. And I was like, nope, we're gonna go, and then we'll be there at 8 o'clock, and we're gonna win. And then all of a sudden, the song "Shout" or "Jump" or what's the one where you,
A little bit louder now.
yeah. And it's pretty late, and we're in there having a good time, and there's a bar. It's pretty packed still, and all of a sudden that song comes on where you do this one, right? So me, Tar, the 5 of us, we're going like this.
This is so
and the
awesome.
rest of the bar is not like, they're dancing, but they're not jumping. And then we see like 4 other guys going like this, and we're like, yeah. And then I'm like, oh shit, that's Bear, Coley, and Prescio.
A little bit louder now.
Yeah.
A little bit
And I
loud.
was like,
Yeah.
and we both were like this, and I was like, uh-oh. And then you guys were like, yeah. We're like, yeah. So then on the way, so whatever, I don't know, maybe got didn't lay down we didn't get a whole lot of rest. And so then we're going to the gym, and I'm like, that you're like, hey, here it comes, let's go, we're going to win this thing. And I'm just puking the whole way. Puking. Like, it was like a 10-minute walk, and I threw up like 3 times. And I look at the guys, and I said, not a freaking word, dude. I'm going to play, and I'm going to be fine. All right? But nobody needs to know, unless I keep throwing up, then we can, but. So go in, play the match. We win in 5 at 8 a.m. Okay.
In the
We went to
semis, right? That was the semis of the
losers
losers.
The
semis.
losers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then do you remember we went to breakfast, which we usually didn't do this as a team, but we all went to that breakfast that was connected. Do you guys remember that little
Yep.
spot? It was like a buffet, and which is the worst thing ever because typically we would go get a beer and a broad as we we do that
Yeah.
stuff. But to sit down at breakfast, I'm like trying to keep it together. I'm like, dude. And Alan's like, bro, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I didn't really take Preston's advice last night. He goes, yeah, no shit, Tyler. And I was like, I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom, come back. Go to the bathroom, come back. And then we got played in the game. Play that game, win that game in 5. But by the end of that game, I was starting to cramp and I was, I had nothing left. And that's when a couple of guys were like, dude, you got to go get an IV.
Oh,
I'm like,
this
no,
is the
dude,
IV story.
there's only like 2 hours. There's only 2 hours left. It's going to take too long. So I go get an IV. I'm dead sweat. I'm laying there. I'm shivering. They're giving
I
me
remember
blankets.
you shivering. Yeah.
Yeah. Bear was the one that was with me the most, like almost the whole time. Kind of, and you were there most of the time, just talking with me. And you were kind of going like, "Hey, dude, Tremblay's got it." Like you're like, "Dude, you're in pretty bad shape, bro." I was like, "I'm freaking playing, dude. I swear I'm playing." I thought I could, but I started to get a little worried when the doctor's like, "We need to give you another IV because your like stuff's all messed up. You're still pale." I'm like, "Dude, get that thing out of me in 40 minutes." Presto comes over. He looks at me and goes, "Hey, kid, you're going to stay here. Tremblay's going." Goes over. Tremblay freaks out so hard. He starts going into full panic attack. That you remember he was like bouncing 2 balls on stadium court.
Just crushing them straight. Yeah, just bang.
Yeah, so long story, but that's so once they got it out, the IV out of me, I think it was probably right after warm-ups. And
Yeah,
Bear
because
was
Ty started
the first set.
Yeah.
He
First
played
set.
the first set.
Yeah.
And it was so I was freezing. Like I felt like I couldn't move my body, not so much because of like not feeling well. It was more of just I was so cold and frozen. And Bear, we went outside
Into the heat.
we peppered. You remember?
Yep, I do remember.
Listen to Bear just being a teammate right there, just
dude,
taking care of our guy,
best, of course.
getting him ready when we needed him. Unbelievable,
Dude.
Bear.
Yeah. Then
Fellow
we come-
49er, come on, and Team Paul Mitchell, come on.
Yeah,
That's what you got to do.
And we come back to the court and we had won the first set.
Yeah.
Second set, it was like I think it was about 9-all. And Tremblay, I didn't think they were that bad of sets, but we were down like 13-9. Like we gave up 4 points. I think he kind of missed a couple sets. And dude, yeah, a guy that's like a father to me, and one of my favorite people in the world, Alan Knight, who's the nicest, greatest guy of all time. But when he gets those Irish red eyes,
Yep.
and he gets serious, dude, it's an intensity that's pretty second to none in my experience. I'm sure a lot of you guys would agree with that.
Absolutely.
And he had not talked to me since I got back. And as soon as the last, I think it was like a wide set, we had to tip it, and they like hammered it. The crowd's going nuts because remember, no one roots for us. Everyone, well,
Yes, and if we lose, we're done. We have to win that and win a double final.
Yeah.
So this is it.
Yeah. There was a decent select, fan base that was rooting for us.
Right.
Very specific
Very.
type of fan that
People-
was rooting
They
for
like
us.
to go out with us, but they didn't like to root for us pretty much
That's
during the
right.
daytime.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the place is going nuts, down 13-9, and Al just goes, "Are you ready to fucking play or what?" And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, 0 chance I can play. But Alan he did it. I was like, yep. I went in, and within like 5 points, I felt fine. And we ended up coming back and winning that set. We ended up winning. We ended up winning the third, and then we ended up smashing them in the
double final.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's
Good
gosh, and
times.
that's what made me, Tyler, we go back and around, you and I, all of us could talk forever, is that's what I loved about you when I first saw you play when you're on that Arizona team, is just you had that. Al had that. These guys had that. Deli had that. Pesto had that. Rocky had that. Geeter has that.
Mhm.
lot of kids don't these days, but you know what I mean, and having it, and like, you're playing at nationals, which matters, but it matters, but like, you're not playing the NBA finals, and like, you wanted to win. You're getting IVs. I mean, yeah, you were out till 4 a.m, but who cares? That's what you're supposed to do. But you were doing what it took to win. And guys like Bear, who I love, and he's obviously a huge part of this podcast, is he's doing what it takes to win, right? Like, it's not like he's like, just because it mattered to him. It mattered to us. It mattered to being a team, to finding a way. You were our best setter. I love Ty. You were our best player. You were young. You were thirsty. You had it all. This was your chance to be on this team and be with us and be playing for Al. And you stepped up when you needed it. And most people wouldn't have done that. And that's why I love this team, because the majority of the time we would get together, Al, myself, and Presh, and we would say, hey, what do you think about this person? We would take people that were like so good and be like, no, just not the right fit for us. And I'm sure you do that when you recruit, right? But like, it wasn't like that. Obviously you were a perfect fit from the beginning, but what a great story. I mean, what a great nationals too. And so.
Well, I mean, and then obviously once you guys kind of pass it down to Kalina, me, and Spittle, we were making those same decisions. Like, we had our guys there on the national team that we knew we could get, and then you had to fill, hey, we need a bro, or we need, and you were thinking about all those factors, and obviously you wanted them to add, humor and comedy and things like that, because that was part of that team too. And
oh yeah, for sure.
but I do want to. A lot of people, I think, underplay. I shouldn't. I mean, it's everyone's opinion how they want to think about it, but I never treated it this way, nor did anyone on Fletcher, Paul Mitchell, or Joe Soho, right, that I play 6-man now with. But that was my first win ever. I mean, when I lost in the finals in 2004, I lost in 2 national team semis and got bronze twice on some, my freshman and junior year. I got to play World University games, and lost. And I'd lost in 3 MPSF finals. I was 0 for 3 in MPSF finals. And to be honest, a lot of them, like now that I know what I do know about the game and setting, I think a lot of people know, I was fairly good, but I didn't know a lot. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to win. And, Brandon Talfaro is a great friend and great mentor of mine. I mean, a lot of people would look at us as setting the ball, and maybe we're different setters. Maybe people would say I'm a little bit more talented at setting, but he was a way more talented volleyball player, way more talented winner, competitor. And it took Paul Mitchell that win till I started winning as a setter, because people around me, you guys all kind of taught me how to win.
And we believed in you. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big statement, man. I mean, I remember with Tommy Hoff when we won the whole thing with him. I mean, that was his first, national championship, and that guy dogpiled like he was just a little kid. I mean, and then look where it took him, right? I mean, talented player, no doubt, but gold medal around his neck. Paul Mitchell did some great things. I mean, from a long time ago, from Raymond Construction. Yep. And it took all of us, to be quite honest.
I mean, my first one, I've told the story when I started, I'm not going to tell it again, but was in 93 with, when we ended up winning and taking the actual sponsorship from Paul Mitchell in Memphis. But it was my first time. I just had lost the Natty, right? A couple months prior to that. And it was, or the year before. And it was just,
first one.
It was their first win. They've never won. Raymond Construction had been in the finals a bunch over the years, and they never won. So like you said, I don't care what it is. If it's down at the local park and you win something, winning something's awesome. And it's something you have forever. And it doesn't mold you or make you if you never won this or never won that. But if you're in sports and you love sports, no matter what level it is, the point of playing it is to win. And so when you get to win a championship, and the best part, Tyler, and you and I talked about this, and, the last time real quick, I'm going to kind of go into, I'm going to tell the story in a second, but the best part about that is you share it with your teammates. You share it with your friends. We all 4 of us played together in different settings, and we have those things. This is the big festival, wherever it was. You're out recruiting in Indianapolis, I think it was, or Kansas City. And, Tyler FaceTimes me with my son, Jake, and his girlfriend, Kelsey, and they're out there and they're 3 together. And it was just an amazing thing to got to say hi to him. You're always so gracious and amazing to Jake and Kels. But my point is going back to winning with folks that matter to you and have the same mentality. And whether you're staying out till 4 a.m, you're working for 10 months every day at 8 a.m, 8 a.m., you're still together. You still have that passion and you all have that same drive. And through that has become friendships where my friend right here is talking to my son at a volleyball tournament and you know, buying him a drink, like just being like an uncle to him. And that comes from playing sports, competing, and having chances in awesome opportunities, winning Fletch, you know, winning the 6-man, winning nationals a few times, you know, watching you, you know, do what you do. It's cool to have those stories, and winning means a lot, and it should mean a lot. And winning a championship at any level should be awesome.
Yeah, that's funny. I almost forgot about that. We were with Jake and FaceTime you.
Yeah.
You're the only one that answers FaceTimes. I FaceTime Prash, Geeter. They never answer. You know?
What's funny, by the way, Jamie Lyles was here this weekend at the house because Ethan was down here playing in a basketball tournament, and she said she made dinner for you guys and you canceled on her. No, I'm kidding. I told her I was going to say that on the pod, but her and Maddie can't wait to see you again. But it's funny because we're driving home from a basketball tournament today, just Braden, myself, and Michelle, and I'm getting a FaceTime from Maddie Lou, and I'm like, dude, I'm in the car, like. Is he, because you know Parker's playing for championship up in her tournament, and I'm like, I get on there and who's there? It's Presh. Presh is there because Alexandra's playing in the 13s. They had no idea. It's now Sunday, but they've been there the whole weekend up in wherever they are, Salt Lake or Reno or whatever. So it's just great to get a FaceTime. I always pick up my FaceTime because I got to see you, man. I got to see you, Tyler. I love talking to you.
Tyler, if you FaceTime me, I'll pick up. I swear.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
So what, you know, I want to pivot back to some of the questions for college here, because we want to talk a little bit of the relevancy of college sports and NIL era, maybe max scholarships, maybe not. I just read the day that they're talking about taking that back off the table of maxing out a amount of players. What is St. Mary's? Because we all want all the people you mentioned, all your teammates, all your friends, all the ones that have been with you. Like you said, you don't care, which I respect a lot. You care what we think, what your friends think. And you already know what we think. We're all cheering for the Gales, and we can't wait to see you rock this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell us about NIL and what it looks like for you guys, and how do you sustain that and go forward with it?
Well, I think kind of, Sully, I think you're saying earlier, I mean, I think the number one thing for a head coach or even a program right now in our sport, I can only speak to our sport, is do you have admin support? Now, NIL is not admin support, but if you have admin support and they're taking care of the things that you need to take care of, you're free to get, whether it's recruiting, NIL, the proper channels, whether it's, so for us, obviously we got to kind of wait till the dust settles totally on all this. But because we're not going to be capped, it's a disadvantage in the sense that we don't have football. Therefore, we're not just getting a couple $100,000 for free just from the university because of the balancing out.
Yeah.
But every dollar we get, we can do whatever we want with, because we're not capped at 20.5, which is, I think, a huge advantage, because if you build it, they will come. If you get the fans in, I mean, if you Field of Dreams it a little bit and you can get some momentum going, I think our staff is a really big deal. I think, we also have Taylor Crabb up here on the beach side. I mean, you got me, Brian Cook, my other two assistants are great young coaches that are studs, that are just trying to get their foot in the door, and they're absolutely killing it. But, Kelsey's going to be involved in some way. So you got one of the biggest faces in the world in volleyball that's going to be able to be a mentor, big sister, which is just what my wife did in 17 when we won the national championship at Nebraska. Like big sister, mentor, been in their shoes before. So, Kelsey, me, Brian, the other two assistants. I mean, there's a lot of buzz up here to be able to recruit, but to be able to recruit people that want to be involved. And, whether that's a certain amount of dollars or not. But our administration is pushing it. I know the previous USC administration prior to Jen getting there, maybe because it's the varsity, because of the stuff that they'd been through, they were like, no on NIL except football,
Yeah.
At least that's what Brad was saying. He's like, dude, we haven't been able to, because it's just, and Jen got there and opened it up and said, yeah, go get it. And so we have, back to our admin is supporting us. I think there's a lot of people that are incredibly loyal to St. Mary's, which, even though, I mean, Long Beach is my school, as we all know, our
Yep.
school, I should say, the three of our school, like, and there's a great following. The city you don't feel it as much in the city as you obviously would in like a Nebraska, or if you're,
Mhm.
you know, if
No,
you
that
see
makes
Lane
sense.
Kiffin, in a grocery store, or whatever. I mean, it's just the whole that college town, because we're a commuter at Long Beach.
Mm-hmm.
But here is like everywhere you go. I mean, they're like, go Gales, go Gales. And
Yeah.
so it's like a very small version of Nebraska. I'm not comparing it to Nebraska, but it has the same feel at a smaller scale. And people are successful here. Silicon Valley's close here. And so we need to be pretty aggressive with trying to get people to believe that we can be in the hunt, like our men's basketball team. And I think we can. We've gotten 4 recruits that are really, really good players. I think we just got a committed program changer as an outside hitter. She's got 130,000 followers. I mean, she's going to be. So we've done pretty well in the portal. We got the fourth ranked recruit, fourth ranked middle in 2024. So she was supposed to be a freshman this year, but started at Oregon. She had a bunch of power fours. She went to Oregon, ended up not playing there, and then transferred to us like 2 months ago. 6'5" middle, touches like 10-7, and
Oh.
so we.
Sounds like me.
Yeah,
6'5"
so
middle
Oh.
touches 10-7. Coley
Yeah, that
Kaepernick,
was-
Cal State
Hey,
Northridge.
she doesn't quite have your arm though.
Quickest
CK.
arm in the West.
Right.
It was insane. And but yeah, so that's we gotta do a couple things. We gotta build relationships, and also the golf membership does matter. Brian is a very good golfer. I've golfed a lot in my life, so we could bring people out there and have business meetings and try to see if they're interested
4
to
hours.
be a part of this. Yeah.
I'm excited for you because like I look at them in the basketball world, right? What I've done with Jake and and now with Braden, being able to watch them. You've always seen them if you see them in March Madness, but what they've done and how they flourish, the crowds they get, the excitement that it brings. They're always one of the best. They were the best by far. This way better than Gonzaga this year in the WCC. Underachieved maybe a little bit in the tournament, maybe like whatever it may be, but I don't see why you can't do that. Especially since you don't have football, right? Since you don't have football, we talk about it on this all the time, Sully, Bear, and I, and just about the growth of the game, right? Like, I say it all the time. I'm watching Charlie Furberger play on a Saturday, turn the channel, I'm watching Alabama football, right? I'm watching last night with Mooney on the couch, watching the Love, the semis, the crowd's amazing. Everything's going crazy. So I think, like you said, if you build it, you will come. I'm just excited to see it because volleyball's growing so fast, so good. The level's so high. There's so many opportunities for so many people. You just have to carve your niche and do your thing, right, in your area where you can do it. And I think they made a home run hire with you.
No, thanks. I agree with if you build it, we will come, and that we do believe, not just like optimistically, but we believe we can be where our basketball team's at. I mean, that's the first goal is to try to be one of the better mid majors, if not the best. I think we're going to have the support to do that, so it's going to be up to us and staying injury free. But really, really one of the things I do want to say on here is that we kind of talked about some of our when we were a little younger and still chasing the dragon in a way of wanting to just go to the Olympics, wanting to be the best, and wanting to win at all costs, and young, no kids, and doing having a good time with the volleyball community and the volleyball teammates, and I think I did my best at that life, and I think that at 41 with 2 young kids, Rhett and Lennon, 3 and 7. My wife, who's starting a really good, she already started, she's 5 years into a really successful interior design business.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, like, where do we want to be? Like, do we want to go to a Power 4 that, there's all this money going around, you could get fired on the spot, you're competing with the Nebraska, like, you know what I mean? Like with all that stress, and go live in somewhere we don't want to live necessarily. Last year's Big Ten travel, although it was minor compared to most of the travel I've done in my life, it was still really the first time I traveled like that with kids.
Yeah.
And that was tough. It was
Sure.
tough on my wife, certainly tough on me not seeing my kids, but my wife's running a business and having to take care of the kids. So So I was like, and this isn't a thing like, oh, I don't want to win or we're not going to get good, because I actually think we have a chance to get much, much better than just about any mid-major, in my opinion, with what we have
Yeah,
up here. I don't know if you guys ever been up here, but it's like one of the most beautiful campuses
I
I've ever
have.
seen. I mean,
I've been there. It's stunning. It really is.
it's
It's a
stunning.
jewel. It's a jewel.
Yeah, the whole area is just like stunning. And so I was like, all right. And when my wife was like the first time ever, just so all in, like it's one of the best places to raise kids. There's almost no crime. Schools are incredible. Her job can translate up here as an interior designer,
Of
right? Like
course.
if
Right.
when we went to Lincoln, it was tough. Like, the people are amazing there, and there's a lot of amazing things about Nebraska. We loved it there, but her job doesn't transfer.
Mm.
When houses are cheaper and 200 grand, you're not doing a lot of remodeling, right? You're
Right.
building a new house, and
Yeah.
so I just want to kind of wrap a bow on that. Of that, I feel like I can be my best self and the best coach I've been, because my family and my front porch is like taken care of.
Got it taken care
I
of.
don't know if you know, but I mean, they gave me a lifetime contract here. Obviously, there's no total such thing as that, but it would be, they want me here for a long time, and they gave me essentially kind of somewhat of what you call a lifetime contract. Um, so
It,
this is the first time in my life where I'm like, dude, why? Like, I don't need to go to another Olympics or to another Final Four, and I don't say that bragging. I mean, like my internal
Hmm.
heart wants to do that here. And if we don't quite get all the way to one of those things, that's okay, because everything else, we're going to be doing it right. The girls are going to
but
love
it's
it
the
here.
journey for you to get there,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys want to say something. I want to say something to you, Tyler, because I feel like you and I have been together for a long time as friends. You, you've made it. I'm going to tell you that right now. You've made it, and you've made all of us so proud, and you've done so many things. And what's the most important thing for me is, you've known me as my boys, my family, right? Like I've put them first. This is the first thing I've done for myself in a long time, is being part of this podcast. And it's been the most important thing for me to do that. And you're doing that. And you made it. You've traveled. You've been so many places. You've done more than 99% of the world will ever do in general, but especially in the volleyball world. You've coached in the Olympics. You've done all these things. You have a chance to cement yourself into a program and build something and become a legend. And,
You are already a legend.
no, I'm saying you are a legend, but
Yeah,
I'm
you
saying,
are.
like, you can coach for the next 25 years at this school and take them to Sweet
Yeah.
16s and get to a
Yeah.
Final Four and
Yeah.
watch your children grow up in a great place and help your wife and have a family and do those
Hmm.
things. And you're still doing what you love. I
Yeah.
think the chasing of it for each individual is different. Like,
Yeah.
I got to look at Karch, and he's still coaching, right? Like he just won a gold medal and a silver medal. And he's like right back into it again. But that's Karch. He loves it, right? Wants the challenge and wants to
Yeah.
do something different. I think it's great what you're doing. And I think they're lucky to have you. And I think you're lucky to be there. I think it's a win-win for everyone. And I think the West Coast is going to have another great program. And what Wally used to do with Santa Clara years ago when they were great, and they got,
Yeah.
he got places that most people never thought he could.
Right.
We expect that of you, to be honest with you. I mean, for us to say that as your friends,
Yeah.
like I'm expecting you guys to win. Just like everyone's like, oh, how long is it going to take Stein? Oh, I'm expecting Stein to win in a year or two. That's what I was
Yeah.
expecting when he first took the job, and look what he's doing already, upsetting big
Yeah.
teams. So, you got expectations, but you're going to do it right, and you're going to have a lot of support for sure.
Yeah, Tyler with the mid majors, I always come up with you and I, right? Bobby Peterson out there and making the Sweet 16. She's kind of done that a couple of times. Their following is 5,000, 6,000 people going to their matches, and so I've seen it be done, right, as a mid major. But I wanted to get into, your mentors. I mean, the people that you've coached with, Alan Knipe, John Cook, right, and then we get Casey Patterson on here that says you were a young coach, that basically you're a savant at the time, right?
That was
Outdoors,
his word,
indoors.
savant.
That's why I
The
said
savant.
legend.
That was his quote, right? And I was like, that's pretty powerful. And you got to think about your career of taking these beach players, getting them to where they needed to be in the Olympics, doing what they do, your indoor pedigree. I think you're very unique in that sense of your resume. It's thoroughly impressive. How do you wrap your head around that, knowing that you went to Nebraska, John Cook? I mean, I've been to that Delaney Center, right? And then Alan Knipe, and I mean, he's an Olympic coach, right? He's NCAA coach of the year a number of times. How do you wrap that in to make what you want to be at St. Mary's? How does that translate? Because from the beach game, we all know how important the beach game is. And you've trained these high-end individuals, and now you're with these high-end legendary coaches. I mean, how do you put it all together to make it Tyler Hildebrand's way?
Ooh, that's the question I think about all the time. So, my first mentors were my dad. I mean, my mom and my dad, but in sports or coaching or teaching was my father. And my mom taught me a lot of things as well, but I mean, specifically when it comes to maybe coaching or teaching, I think I got lucky. You know, I got lucky when I was 5 years old, 6 years old. You know, we all were, I'm sure.
Yeah,
like,
all three of
so
us
much,
actually. Yeah, fathers
so
were
yeah,
coaches.
yeah, and
Mhm.
but you know, I'd be 6 years old, 7 years old, and you know, I'm sure all you guys were too. Like so much better than everyone at basketball. I mean, just I could dribble down and score layup every single time, right? Like I'm sure most people that make it to a high level athletics are better than everyone when they're that young,
Sure.
or not most, but a lot. And I mean, you know, he'd be in there, say, "Hey, you got to go with your left hand." No one cares, you know. So he was teaching me these kind of uncomfortable things, and we would get home, and he would make me dribble to the left and shoot a left-handed layup around him. And he played college basketball and football, and so he just started to teach me how to be a learner. And when it was board games at home, it was like we got to figure out the very best strategy, right? Like that was me and my dad's thing, and a lot of our other family members. But I mean, we'd be up till 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, me drinking Coca-Colas, and you know him drinking Coca-Colas, and we would just play board games for like 4 or 5 hours, just the two of us. My mom would come wake up, Tyler, Tony, go to bed, you know, and like, but we'd be sitting there trying to figure out how to. So my dad, I think it was a good, my first, he's my hero, but he's my first teacher. I had an unbelievable basketball coach in high school who actually is the reason that I went full volleyball, was because I was the captain of the basketball team and all that. I've known him forever, and he kicked me off the team because I was going to go to that club tournament. But it was my fault. The club dates changed, and I was going to miss a different game, a more important game. And he said, "We agreed to this at the beginning of the year." And he taught me a really great lesson. That at the beginning of the year, he's like, "If you're going to play volleyball this year as our senior captain, we got a chance to go to the final, you know, be in the state runnings this year. I need to know, because I've never allowed someone to play and miss about anything my whole coaching career. But if we're going to do it, we're going to set the schedule today, August 1, and that's it." And once it changed, I was like, "Dude, I got to go get recruited." And he's like, "Turn in your gear."
Wow.
And the school board tried to like get him fired, you know, because I was, you know, and I always just remember being like, "Dude, you're right." You know, his name was Greg Sessions, and so he was the second, I think, teacher. He was a pretty hard coach, but he was a great coach. Then I got to play for Al, and Greg Vernovich was
We just talked
one of
about
our,
Vern right before you came on here, actually.
yeah. So he was the most gifted coach I'd ever been around. You know, from just kind of a pure talent standpoint. You know, I think John Cook and Alan Knipe are, I mean, you can't say anyone's better than those guys. But just kind of like that pure kind of crazy motivational gifts I learned from Vern. Andy
Well, I mean,
Reid taught
he did
me.
like Everest a few times and help some people up there. So yeah, crazy good is to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, he became essentially the most important person on the mountain for a decade. No
Yeah.
one would climb. No other human would climb it without him signing off on the weather with IMG. But anyway, so Andy Reid was my first setting coach and one of the greatest of all time. And so I mean, I'm pretty lucky. I have a great basketball coach, my dad, and then I go to Al, Vern, and him, and then I started a club with Derek Lucero. And Derek is the most talented coach that I've ever seen. And I know that, you know, not everybody in the volleyball world knows about that. I think a lot of people don't really know what he really was about or who he really is. I love him with my whole heart, and I know that he's not perfect, and I'm not perfect. We're not all perfect,
None of
but
us are. Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. That what he was capable of doing. in terms of it was like a movie every day. It was like watching Hoosiers and then watching Miracle the next day, then watching Coach Carter the next. Like, think of and then watching Remember the Titans, and that would just be in 1 week. And you're like, how is he doing this? How is he manipulating this whole environment to get these kids to believe? And so I learned potentially the most from Derek in terms of what to do. Vern and Derek probably the most. I think Alan, I learned a lot more later, the second time I came back after Al and I had been on the national team. Al taught me for sure the most about being a head coach. There's no question about that. And a lot about being a father in life and a great husband. Alan's for sure, I think, the biggest influence, but I think just some of those, like, there's always different things. And then, I was setting coach on the Olympic team with John Sproul for 4 years. So, that was probably 5.5, 6 months on the road together in hotel rooms and dinners and
terrible mentors.
I was just going to say, anybody else out there has that kind of mentorship? Holy crap. No, you're lived an amazing coaching life. Let me tell you.
Yeah. But I feel very fortunate for all. I mean, I'm probably missing a number of pretty incredible people. I lived with Rick McLaughlin. I coached with him at Golden West.
Yeah.
I've coached a lot of people, so I'm forgetting some. But
D'Alessandro was that for me. Just sitting back and watching that guy's brain go, and you're just like, how did he pull that? And he was right, and the right rotations, and this is what we need to do. And he just saw the game totally different than anybody when I was around him. It was amazing to watch.
You never golfed with Deli, have you?
I've golfed a couple times with Deli.
Any stories about that? Because you were talking golfing earlier.
Well, the first time it was with Albert Gasparian and Rick McLaughlin, actually, when we were coaching at Golden West. Albert was the AD.
Yep.
And then and we just went to I think Meadowlark with Biggs.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, dude, this guy throws a club. I'm like, he's not going to throw a club in the water. And he threw it like on the third hole or whatever that par four. Like, I was like,
the one that goes down. I know exactly the one you're talking
about.
Yeah,
it's like, he like topped his next ball and he just chucked it in the water. And I was like, hey, Mike, Biggs, you want me to go get that? He's like, fuck that. Like, I don't need that fucking club.
Did you just like throw his bag all the way down the fairway, like every 10 feet?
No, but I've heard that. I've heard he picks it up, throws it, picks it up like the Bobby Knight show.
He's a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah. I played with Rocky a little bit more, but But Biggs was my coach my senior year at Long Beach. Vern left to go climb mountains, and Biggs was there, and man, that was awesome because I was already a senior at that point, and there wasn't a whole lot that. I feel like some days my senior year, like I didn't get coached at all, which was fine. Like I liked it, but what I mean is not that I didn't need to get coached. It was just, we were trying to build the team, trying to work on certain things. So Al and the staff were spending time elsewhere. But when Biggs came, I got to get kind of some really cool, totally different setting coach than Andy Reid. Both really good at their own ways. But I played for Hugh McCutcheon, for 5 years. I got to work with him a little bit.
Man, crazy.
Coach offered me to be his assistant on the national team, so I was in the gym with them for a little bit. But my wife was on the team, so it ended up. So, I mean, I think I've been fortunate to do all that. But by far the biggest teacher for me was the players I coached. And I think people say that, but like, oh yeah, I learned from my players. I'm like. TJ, we founded the club, and 4 days later, TJ was the fourth player in our club. Josh Tuaniga was the first player of the club that me and Derek founded, and TJ was like the fourth. And I mean, coaching TJ, I mean, you want a master class on how to coach. I mean, you have to coach. I think a top 4 greatest talent in the history of the United States.
I asked Alan this, like, how do you coach a player like TJ? I mean, where he has so much talent, like, what do you, how do you make him better?
Was he a competitor? Was he a gnarly competitor, Tyler, at that young age when you took him on in club?
I mean, at the risk of, I don't know, sounding a little bit over the top. I mean, from what I've studied about Tiger and what I've studied about Rory, who just won the Masters at a young age, from like a Tom Brady mentality. As he got older, we don't know a lot about what TB was doing when he was young. I'm missing like a Kobe and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
like this, like they're 11 years old, and like if they're talented enough, they will be one of the best players in the world and one of the best players that's ever played in the United States. Like me and Derek knew that when he was 12 years old. Like
Yeah.
like the guy was. It was crazy how driven. And it's funny because he's one of 7 kids,
Yeah.
and they're all great kids and great people, and all pretty. Not all of them. Two of the siblings don't play sports, but the other 4 do, and they're all pretty good. I coach his sisters too, Talia and Tegan and I'm sorry, Taryn and Tegan. I don't know where Coach Todd, but like anyway, point is that he was just in a level, and it's like, how does that? There's got to be some like I'm big about, Ray Rattel, the big toe. The big toe used to
Big
say,
toe.
Tyler, you either got it or you don't. That's all I can say. And I'm like, aren't you a coach, Ray? So
Well,
and I
that's
would joke with
debatable.
him. He goes,
God!
and
Damn it!
Get your keys. Right.
so but Ray would joke. He's like, I know, but like, but yeah, I mean, when you're with TJ, you see that, and so I'm not saying like it was all DNA, but something in his life and his makeup and his DNA and his experiences, he was already like that at 12, and then just as good of an arm as anyone's ever seen, in my opinion, in the United States, in terms of what it can do. I mean, maybe Clay and Pat hit the ball harder, and Cole, yours was quicker. I mean, just
Yeah.
but the versatility of that arm is, I think, as pretty as in anyone I've seen. But he had that at 12, and it was already kind of there. I mean, we worked a lot on range and that, and shot selection. But the one thing I will say is, like with Josh and TJ, I was never their direct coaching club. I mean, I was on their bench almost every tournament, but I was never their direct head coach because I was coaching the Matt Butlers, a lot of those guys that played at Teresa's son. I coached
Yep.
his team. That's how we started the club, was Matt's team I coached, and then we got Josh and TJ's team. And anyway, that's too much information, but the point is that, so I had to do all this stuff with TJ about, him growing and working, and he had a hard time being a teammate. I actually went in to Karch, his office. Karch was always great. I probably called 8 or 9, asked for meetings with Karch to just sit down for 2 or 3 hours and ask him questions, and he said yes every time. And I went in and I'm like, hey, like, you were kind of like TJ. Like, you and TJ and Hugh Foster, I think, are kind of considered the 3 biggest separators in high school, right? Would you guys relatively agree?
That's probably a pretty good depiction of those 3.
Taylor
Absolutely.
Sanders in that discussion, but those 3 were just like this compared to everyone else in high school. Maybe Chase butting her a little bit, but like so Karch would give me suggestions. Like, hey, I played with my dad and I played against pros, so maybe TJ is just getting frustrated with the level he's playing at, and so. But I learned more about coaching by coaching TJ, because I mean, you got to understand. I mean, we spent 8 years together, 9 years together, and he was a driven kid, and he was dealing with how to get through emotionally, how to play, and how to deal with the ups and downs and frustrations, and being a teammate. And I mean, when we're at Liberty, what was that? What was the church that's like a middle school bear?
Yeah, I think it's
Across-
Liberty Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, when we're
across
at
the street
Liberty,
from the facility.
yeah, exactly. When we're at Liberty, and the best player you've ever seen at 14 years old starts running down, Warner Avenue, someone's got to go get him. That was me. I had to go get him. He's ripped his shirt, and then we had to go sit, and I'd buy him lunch, and we'd talk for 2 hours. But TJ has a great heart, and that's what I think got him through it all, is that he could have this frustration and not know how to be a great teammate or competitor in those moments, but his team always knew he loved him and cared about him. And I think sometimes, maybe the MJ style or some of that, maybe they didn't know that all the time. I mean, I don't know, but so how do you make him better? That's the thing I always want to share with coaches is our pro teams, once anyone gets done with college volleyball, right? Especially on the women's side, but on both sides, if we would just not coach, if we would just show up from when they're 13, 14, 15, 16 and design drills that allow them to go experiment, play, whatever. I'm not like trying to be like, oh, it's all free play. I understand there's a big spectrum in terms of skill acquisition, but that'd be one thing, but that wouldn't go very well unless you attach watching the best players in the world and then trying to go emulate them. I'll raise your hand on this panel. If you ever went outside with a wiffle ball and tried to be like whoever the guys were, Ken Griffey Jr., so like we all did that, right?
Sure.
And we all
What
talk
about
about this.
basketball and layups?
Yep.
And every
Jordan.
single
Yep.
Magic.
Kobe.
Yeah.
Fade away. Yep.
But we all would
Chris
go do that with
McAdoo.
our buddies or by yourself and go shoot hoops or home run derby it. And, you'd even go lefty I was Ken Griffey Jr. and I was a righty, but I would try to do dingers with Ken because he was my favorite player. And I just think that, there's so much access to information on Volumetrics and YouTube and TikTok and Instagram that if you just said, watch
it.
you go, hey, the first 30, 45 minutes is we'll watch it together or you guys watch it. Just study it, watch it. Then we'll do a passing drill and try to emulate the passers, right? I mean, you think about hold your angle. It's just so funny. Like we talk about that. I'm not here to say what's right or wrong, but I probably use video more than 99% of coaches, I would say, particularly international video. I watch very little video. Like I watched almost a little bit more at Long Beach, but in club, I don't think I ever watched with TJ or Josh them. We would just sit down because TJ was homeschooled, dude. So we'd sit up in the Derek's amphitheater up there. Remember that thing there? Up in the amphitheater.
Yep.
And we would just sit up there and I'd throw on my hard drive that I had from the national team of the 03 to 08 quad. And we would just sit there and we'd watch the best outsides. And I wouldn't even say much to him and he would just be studying it and watching. And
Well, that's why he's as good as he is, man. And it's just we talk about it all the time on this thing, Tyler,
All the
about
time.
watching the game to be great at it. And now that there's so much access, especially we're talking women's volleyball right now, like for young girls that are playing, like 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds, they can watch on ESPN2 the Love Finals. You know, they can watch Division III on ESPN Plus. They can stream it. They can go to YouTube. They can go watch an international match, Poland playing Czechoslovakia in the one of the world games, just because you can actually see that now. But watching it and having access to it's two different things, right? Like, you're on text chains with us. We're not missing Laker games, right? We're texting Geeter while he's on the show. Like, we're watching because we love it. If you're a young volleyball player, you should be watching it because you love it. And you learn so much from it. And I'm going to we had a guest on a little while ago asking this question. They coach at a NAIA school, played at Long Beach. International players, so many coming into the game for both women and men. Are we falling behind? And if we are, is it because of what you just mentioned? We're playing too much and not training that way, the right way? Or is it just they're playing way more than we are and they're just getting better than us?
Yeah, it's funny. I did a presentation the first year I was like head coach director of coaching with USA Beach. It's tough to do this air quotes thing because they wouldn't just give a normal title. But it's not Sean's fault, by the way. It's USA Volleyball's fault. But we can edit that part out. But
Sparrow's changing all that. If he isn't, he's going to. But
yeah. Well, I had it locked in. If I would have stayed and not gone back to Nebraska, they were just going to say head coach, so it was like easy title. But anyway, point is, right out of the gates, I went and I was kind of head of the coaching education program, which is called BCAP, Beach Coaching Accreditation, whatever.
Yep.
Program. So I ended up, they wanted me to take that over to transition it because it was super archaic. I mean, it had been done by great players, but that played in the big court in the, hadn't been out on the world tour a long time. And obviously at that point I had been at more world tour events than probably almost all the other coaches combined in America, because I went like 5 years in a row to every one of them. So they wanted me to do it. So I go to the AVCA, and just to your question, CK, I did the title of the presentation on the website was why we are behind and what we need to do to catch up, or why we fell behind. And at that time, everyone's going, "What do you mean? We got Phil, we got Carrie, April." And I'm like, "Yeah, they're pretty darn good." I mean, I think the two best players ever, Phil and Carrie, in terms of just their actual ability, not what they necessarily ended up. Well, Carrie obviously is the best, but I think Phil and Carrie are the two best. And yeah, but they're going to retire at some point, people. Like, we're way behind Europe.
Hmm.
And I said in there, I mean, I could send it to you guys. It's 2018. I had in there, I was like, within 2 to 4 years, Europe is going to be the dominating school of volleyball in beach volleyball. And I mean, I ended up being right, but at the
Of course you
time, like,
were.
you just could not assume. Like, it was hard for me to even come to that. It was kind of a guess because of what I believe in training, what you're saying, Coach. Because America and Brazil had just dominated for so long, and they were just doing this, make it on your own, and we'll give you some money for flights, and hopefully you hire the coach, and hopefully they know what they're talking about, and then Europe is going like full training with each other, training against them. It's like a
High
real,
school, everything, right? Like they do
yeah,
with the indoor.
from the time they're 13 or 14, they're just getting trained and they're watching and study. Like, imagine if like our 14 and 15-year-old players were playing right next to Matt Anderson and, Micah Christensen and Eric Soji,
Yeah.
like right across, like the next court over, and that's all they knew. Instead of watching our college game, which I think our college game is way, way, way behind. I mean, it's our women's beach college game is ahead. Our women's indoor college game is really behind. Obviously, not every program, but generally across the board, it's hard to find much that's being trained or taught that you can prove anywhere in professional sports. And it sounds like exaggeration, but that's been my life for the last decade.
Well,
It's just
so
like, here's the things that people say, but we can't see them internationally.
Yeah, so I agree with you, and I say it all the time. I think we're falling behind. We're doing basketball. That NBA is being taken over by European players, and the skill set and the training and how they do it. But we're still winning medals in the Olympics in indoors, right? So like
In indoors.
So like we've talked about it a few times. The Final Four last year, for me watching, I thought the Final Four elite level was amazing for women's college volleyball. But you see it at you see it at the international level, and so it's obviously I don't see it nearly as much as you do and what you see. So I guess I could probably 100% believe we're behind. How do you change it? Like, how do we stop having 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds travel around the country to play club volleyball on a net that's too short and you're just trying to learn, there's clothes don't fit you, just staying at home, spending 2 hours watching video of, that match and then practicing for 2 hours and then going to the pizza parlor with your parents and having a great time like they should at 9 years old. How do we how do we do that? Or is there a way to kind of, with the world we live in, to get back to that?
Big culture shift, right?
Yeah, it would be, I've thought about this a decent amount. I don't think I have a great answer, but I know some factors. I'll say that. So, one, I think, I have like a PowerPoint deck that I'll send you guys. Just take a
We'd
look.
love to see it.
Yeah.
Because it's about, like, because everyone just says video, but it's like, how are you watching video? What are you watching?
Right.
How much are you watching? What are you taking out of it? And it's got Caitlin Clark and Steph Curry. I mean, I wasn't around Caitlin Clark when she was growing up. I haven't talked to anyone that was, but you cannot watch highlights of those two people shooting the ball from 3-point line and well beyond the 3-point line and come up with any other conclusion than she watched him play NBA growing up. I mean,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Kobe and Magic, right? All of Kobe's moves, he patented them after
Jordan.
after Jordan.
Yeah.
And he says it.
Well, that's what's great about this. My thing is I have two good YouTube clips. Kobe took stuff from Magic. He took stuff from Mike. He didn't even
MJ.
watch Michael till way later. He took stuff from Elgin Baylor and Jerry West and Oscar Robinson. And he goes through this interview and he's just live streaming these tapes that he had back in the day. Where look, and they're showing like Elgin Baylor do a pull up and he's like, oh, Baylor had that big old booty to create space. I didn't have that. So I had to create space more like a Jerry West. Like, Dude, I mean, so like,
Yeah, that's
so that's
Kobe
another
though.
thing that's important is like to not fall into the expert fallacy when you're watching. Like, oh, like, Leon does it like this. I can never say his first name correctly, but Leon is a 6'10" Cuban guy that touches 12-4 with like a hand cannon that doesn't need an approach to still be very effective. But if he had a bigger approach or a better approach, he'd be a little bit better. So you can fall into the expert fallacy of, or I mean, we've had some incredibly great setters. I mean, Lloyd Ball is a great friend of mine, one of the greatest setters of all time. But
Love him.
you would not say that his mechanics and how he did it is how you would want to teach a lot of people to set all of them up for success.
Hmm.
Like you wouldn't teach Jim Furyk's golf swing to 100 kids that had potential, right? Because who knows which one of them are going to be able to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you could teach Rory's or Corey Con, like, whatever. So anyway, so I'll send that to you because I think that's one way that I think that we should all, I think as a club coach or a high school coach, you should just try to get them to love the game, try to develop a mentoring relationship as a human, as a mentor and a person off the court, and let them watch. I mean, you need to watch the game yourself first as a coach, but let them study the game and then put them in drills that are challenging, sometimes blocked, sometimes random, whatever. So that's one way to like execute it. But the problem is that clubs are making so much more money than anybody else. So high schools aren't making money, colleges aren't making money. I mean, obviously Nebraska usually nets about $1 million a year, which is just bonkers. There are like 3
Yeah.
women's programs in all sports in the country that do that. But I mean, so colleges are losing. Every college team's losing money for the most part. Every men's college team, except Long Beach maybe and Hawaii, lose money. Um, and clubs. I mean, I don't know what TAV yields, but
It's a
I mean,
lot.
Large club.
they're revenuing 40 to 50 million, I think, at least. Revenuing, not grossing,
Right.
Yeah.
not profit,
But
No problem.
still,
but they're revenuing that. I know Spry back in the day was revenuing 10 to 15. They're doing camps revenuing another 10. I mean, I don't know inside information, but like Cheese Street, they've now expanded to 3 clubs. They got to be close to 20 million.
yeah.
I mean, you can't get people that are making tens of millions of dollars. I mean, that's Dustin Watton. Like Dustin Watton is probably sharing more valuable information about the game than anybody that ever has, in my opinion, in the world, because it's not Dustin's ideas. A lot of the libero stuff is, but he's had 3 of the greatest setters in the history of the game of teaching and talking about just in the last 3 months. When has anyone ever been able to share all of that?
Hmm.
He's had Grobenikov and Sergio, who are
Yeah.
probably the 2 best liberos of all time. So he has all this information. I think he thinks about the game extremely high level, certainly a lot different than girls club or girls high school or boys club even, although I think the boys club and high school game is way ahead and the boys college game is a joke. I mean, that's why I think we're going to be good. I'm kind of all over the place, but that's why I think we're going to be good, Cole, is why we're still going to be good indoor medals is we have so many women that we're going to stay relevant. And with League One and so many, I mean, we're gonna just the tide is gonna rise with the boats on the women's side. I think our men's club in high school and collegiate is the best in the world. I mean, I don't know if you guys watch like top 6 or 7 teams
Yeah.
on the men's side. It
Oh, yeah.
looks as good or better than a huge portion of international volleyball. And that's not even it's not even relevantly close
Yeah.
on the women's side.
Well, that's exciting to hear. And I want to go back to something just because I think it's important for our listeners. If hopefully people are still listening to this, is you can't change it overnight because of the money, and it's understandable. But if programs and clubs that are running across this country for volleyball, for youth volleyball, can all get on the same page through USA Volleyball, like if John has some kind of edict, like you said, like they're never going to stop. It's a moneymaker. It costs thousands to play, and you have the gyms and the facilities. And again, it does provide a lot of value, and it's an exciting thing to be a part of. But if they can find a way to have some form of accreditation, like, like if you're playing in, there's the USA division or the national division, like you can't get to even hear without taking a test, for an example, right? Like an actual test. Like,
Soccer does that.
Yeah, like who's the best volleyball player? You know, you give them a multiple choice. Who's won more than one gold medal? Misty May, Carrie Walsh, Coley Kyman. Like, if they can't answer those, like what I do with work, and you don't qualify, then you shouldn't be playing volleyball at that next level unless it's fun. But then the other thing is I love what you said, and anyone listening, hit subscribe. But besides hit the subscribe button, parents, because you should be listening, because this is a Division I head coach who has tons of resume, is if you really have a daughter or son that really want to play at the next level, if they're 12 years old, the next level is high school. If they're in high school, the next level is college. And if you're in college, obviously the next level is playing pro or playing in the national team. Start now if you're not, and get them to love watching the game itself. Watch videos, pull up videos from games, go to the local high schools in your area if you're younger, go to the colleges if you're in high school, go watch the pros if you're in college. You know, if you're playing at a lower level college, go watch if you just go watch the game. It's going to make you better. It really is. And it's really the only way, unless you're just elite. You just said, in your opinion, and I trust your opinion, TJ's one of the best to ever do it in this country. And he's 12 years old watching video, right? Like, that's why he's that great. So if you want that, just do it. We've said it a few times on this thing. It's up to you to become the best player you can be. And I said this earlier, like, what's going on with the international game, both Joy and I were telling Heather, she's worried, her kids. And I was like, well, just have your kids get better, right? Really simple. So if you really want to get better, I would find every avenue you could to do it. And one of them is what Coach Hildebrand just said, is start watching video, not of yourself and the highlights with all the mixtapes that you sound good. Start watching matches. Start watching players that you want to emulate. If you're an outside hitter, go watch DeFalco and see what he's been doing, right? From his early days to where he's at now. If you're a setter, go watch Tyler. Go watch Nikolov, especially if you're any setter. I shouldn't say boy or girl or man or woman. I'd go watch that stuff. And
yeah, when I had a club in Boise, I'd let them watch their match, right? Good 10 minutes, and say, okay, we're going to rewind it. And this is how you need to look at it. This is how you need to study it. It's not what your shoes look like. If your hair was out of place, if your knee pads, oh, look at that kid, we get that out of the way. But then I taught them how to watch the game. And then we would watch it like a normal college game, so they can just watch it. And we've said that, Coley Bear, must have said this on half of our podcast. Turn it on for them. Have them sit down for dinner, turn it on. Because on the girl side, my experience, they're just not going to turn on. It's not part of our culture yet, right? Where the guys are most likely doing that, right? Like we all said, oh, Jordan, right? Trying to hang like Jordan, or fade away like Kobe or something. Yeah. But from the girls' perspective, literally the parents and the directors of those clubs and the coaches of those clubs need to say, you need to go home, put this on, tell me about how the first set went. Tell me how the second set went, whatever the case may be. So they're still watching it. So I am thoroughly loving the fact that you are absolutely, you're a big proponent of watching video and how to watch video, but just to watch is a big deal.
So go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
Imagine, your kids played football and you send them off to, quarterback school, and they're teaching something that you can't find Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady. Like, they're teaching them something that you literally can't see any of the top quarterbacks do. And it would fizzle so fast, right? That person would be out of a job. No one would give them any more money because the parents can watch it, or the parents' friends who are told them to go that can't, But like in volleyball, until League One, it hasn't been really kind of that accessible. And, I just think a huge portion of almost every skill being taught in America, particularly on the women's side, it's hard to find almost anything that's being taught that's consistently what the top of the game is doing. Like, just an example would be, do you want to set the ball out of system close to the net or off the net? And I'm not here to argue what's right or wrong. I'm just here to say, if you don't say throw it up to the net, you're making a choice to go against what every single professional team in the world does, 100% of them. And it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Okay, maybe not 100, maybe 98%. But, you can't watch an international match and not see that that's what they're doing, particularly on the men's side. And so that it's like every one of those little examples how we change it is the coaches or the clubs, they need to try to find a way to put like like everyone did when Tiger changed the game. Like all these people that changed the game, everyone that's a teacher, everyone that wants to make money or be successful goes and studies where the game's going or where it's happened. But without the NBA or the NFL or the Master, like whatever, it's a lot harder to access. But that excuse is no longer valid.
Agreed.
Because
Agreed.
it's not hard to access. It's actually super easy.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier than the Masters to access, to be honest with you.
Yep. Nikolov's changing that right now for the men's game. He is.
Yeah.
From a setter's
Yeah.
perspective. Yeah.
And I've
one
been
thing-
studying
yeah.
Go ahead.
No.
I was just saying I've been studying volumetrics since it came out, in 2014. And I mean, when Jake and Casey, that's nice that Casey said, something nice about me, but I mean, they offered me the job after 2 practices in Huntington. I'd never coached beach volleyball in my life. And I was kind of like, guys, I was like, are you sure? I mean, like, I don't know, like, this is an honor for me, but, so, I mean, what was I going to do? Like, go around the world and try to learn from other coaches? I just had to watch
Online.
and study.
Oh, yeah.
I go, man, this is what I'm hearing people teach blocking. This is what I heard indoor. This is what I hear on the girls' side. And the guys, so then you just start to go, not hardly any of these things are adding up, but this is making sense.
Mhm.
Ali Stone's doing it like this. Nikolai, Phil, Jake, Robin Seidel. You could go down the list. And then obviously you have the greatest blocker of all time now in Anders Mole, who combined what everyone else was good at and put it into one blocker. And it's just obvious. And I'm fortunate that Bjarne Hus, who's now at Michigan, who was at Long Beach, he won with TJ on the left. He grew up with those guys. Those are his best 2 friends. And I was like, I'm like, there's got to be some guru in Norway, right? Like studying the game and teaching it. He goes, what, dude? No, there was like 6 of us. We were all best friends. We all knew Anders was going to be Anders, but we'd all go, we'd watch YouTube. We'd watch the semifinals or whatever on YouTube. And then we'd go play for 4 hours with no coaches and nobody around and just try to emulate these moves. And, then Christian and Anders ended up being one of the Norwegian team ended up being one of the more dominant teams, we've seen. Misty, Carrie, Phil, and Todd level of just winning 60, 70% of their tournaments and stuff for 6 years.
Wow.
You
Well,
can learn a
boys,
lot. You can learn a lot. The only thing I was going to say, I want to go back to, I'm not going to be long, but I did take 2 classes at Long Beach. So when you pointed earlier and you said U3,
I didn't know that.
easy.
To listen to the End of Geeter's podcast, I was kind of a student at Long Beach.
Yeah, he paid to go.
I did get some credits there to help me towards
he
my
paid for the
degree.
credits. It's the whole did he do the coursework and actually attend?
That's what happened at USC years way before what happened at USC. Like I was, hey, I paid for my courses. I enrolled in the classes.
No one's arguing you paid for him.
Ray was my teacher. Thanks, Ray. It was amazing. No, but listen, Tyler, go ahead. You were going to wrap it up, Sully. I know what you're going to say. So.
Man, it's an hour and a half for us, and I think I can speak for the other 2 is we'd love to have you on for another 5. We absolutely appreciate you being here. We cannot wait for you to get started where you're at St. Mary's, and we like you said, it's important that you know that we have your back, and we're talking multiple people, but it sure was a pleasure, and thanks for taking the time for being on Set the Pipe.
Yeah, thanks, Sully, and thanks for having me on. Like I said, I love what you guys are doing. I mean, every time that Set the Pipe notification comes, I'm like fired up. But I also want to thank all 3 of you individually. You guys have been very important mentors and leaders and friends in my life, and we've had a lot of experiences together that
we have
been cool and really molded me, not just as a volleyball player or coach, but as a person. So I appreciate you guys very much.
Yeah, well, like I'm going to echo what Sully said. Hey, man, I know you're busy and I love you. You know that. We talk all the time when we can, and I'm just so proud of you. And thanks for saying that, because I know I feel the same way about you. You were younger than us, but you were always one of us. And that's the thing that we might have been different ages at one point, but sooner or later we became the same. Teammates, friends, and you were always one of us. And I'm just. I'm so grateful that you came onto this. We love telling stories. We love doing this. We love having people like you on that we love, we respect, and hearing your story. I mean, a kid coming out of Arizona was playing basketball. No one, wouldn't even have thought that you'd be playing volleyball. All of a sudden, you're playing in the national championship. You're winning national championships. You're coaching the Olympics. You're coaching at USC. You're coaching at Long Beach. You're coaching in Nebraska. You and I are 3-time All-Americans. Sorry, guys. And now you're running an unbelievable program at such a great university. I mean, great. I mean, this is why we're doing it, Tyler. What a story. You are a great story. And I can't wait to have you on again.
Tip of the iceberg.
Thank you so much,
appreciate
Tyler,
you, brother.
for coming on. It's always been fun with you.
Yeah. You too, Bear. And I'll come on anytime. And we have a saying that God is a Gale. So go Gales.
Hey,
Go
and
Gales.
FaceTime me anytime,
Go,
please. I'd like to
There's
get
a
a
All right.
FaceTime from you.
Bear, I'm going to FaceTime you for sure.
Bear will answer. It won't matter what time it is, no matter what he's doing. And Bear's done some few things that some of us is,
Oh,
Okay. Oh God.
So, Bear's done.
My
a few
mother-in-law
things.
watches this, so you got
Oh,
to be careful.
jeez.
Yeah.
So, hey, there's just a story behind
we
a
can
story.
edit it out.
Yeah, I'm not editing that out because it's a really great story.
I
It's
stopped
like,
recording
that
yet.
was a great
So.
story.
it's like when you
Was a good
coach. I
story.
told Braden this today. There's always a game within the game,
A game
right?
within the
And that's what makes sports to me always so great. Like you said, studying it, knowing everything. There's always a story within the story because it's
stories.
always about the story.
That's
Hit
what we're
subscribe, set the pipe. Tyler knows he's always coming to CK to set the pipe because I'm delivering it.
You're the man, Tyler.
Tyler, thanks
you
again.
guys
Thank you
too.
so much.